Honours even at Twickenham in a game with two halves. My name is Mark. Let's talk rugby. For New Zealand, this one was almost a carbon copy of their start against Scotland last week. So, first of all, it looks like a maybe set move from them where Papali'i from a defensive lineout shoots up in defence and intercepts the pass from Van Portfleet. He's in behind, nobody's catching him, straight under the post, converted for 7-0 on what it was like 10 or 15 minutes or something. They get their second try then. So it is a driven maul. They get close. Then Taylor peels off and he goes over. He's able to ground. We've seen New Zealand really are turning their maul into more of a weapon as well. They're kind of previously, we've seen it be defended pretty well by teams, but they seem to have tightened up on that and they get a lot of go forward with their maul. And England didn't seem to be able to hold them out. Then they have another try, but this one is chalked off. It was for Ioane. Was it? No. Yeah, it was Ioane. Yeah, Ioane was playing 13. Where he burst through right under the post, but there is an infringement in the build-up. So England survived that one. Halftime score then is 17-3 to New Zealand. There were a couple of penalties from Farrell and Barrett in the first half. Then into the second half, Ioane does get his try. So it's a breakout from New Zealand to get Ioane free on the wing. They use the crossfield kick, which New Zealand really used it well, I feel, in this November series. They're targeting certain players and certain positions, and it's not just a case of just making it a called move. They're obviously working phases before that in order to get the opposition defense to a certain shape that they want. So they're sucking in defenders on one side of the pitch, then they're going for the kick, and it's working out really well for them. To kick across, they're able to work the ball to Ioane, and then he's off. Stewart is trying to come across to cover, but Ioane just with too much pace, he goes in the corner. Up until literally 10 minutes to go, it looked like New Zealand were going to win, and it was looking like they were going to add scores on as well. They were doing things that we've seen them a lot in the autumn series where, breakdown has been good. They're able to handle the big runners that England were using, like Tuilagi, who tore them apart in that famous England win a number of years ago. They kept him pretty quiet. Same with Billy Vunipola as well. He didn't have a great impact on the game overall. They were trying to just send big runners in, and New Zealand were dealing with it. New Zealand as well, at the breakdown, they're able to get in over the ball, win turnovers. Savea, as usual this year, was magnificent. It's hard to believe that he didn't make the dream team from the World Rugby Awards from, what was it, last night? Well, last night as I'm recording this at least. But yeah, the back row actually looks pretty good when they have Barrett, Papali'i and Savea in there. It looks like they've got a nice balance to it. I think when Barrett has to go into the locks, if one of Retallick or Whitelock is out, that's when they seem to struggle a little bit there. Not that the players like Brazil and Sotutu, I think, come on in this one. Not that they're not up to the standard or whatever. It's just I think the balance just seems a little bit wrong when they have to bring on other players or change it up because as I said, maybe Barrett has to go into lock because one of the two starters there isn't available. I felt that they had Moanga back at 10 in this one. I felt that he did pretty well. But, at this point, it looks like England are out of ideas and New Zealand are just going to add to the score. I felt that Van Portfleet kind of learnt today that the step up from the Premiership to test arena, and especially a test against one of the top sides in the world. It's a big step up, and it was just that little bit of time that he doesn't get at this level that he was taking. So a lot of time he has kind of a wind up on his pass, and New Zealand exploited that a lot, I feel, especially in the opening kind of 20-25 minutes, where there was obviously the intercept for the try, but also there was one where Surveyor caught him at the back of a ruck as he was winding up to give a pass. Surveyor was just able to close the distance and get to him and stop the pass getting out there. And then I think New Zealand ended up turning over the ball as well from that one. He did improve, in the second half a little bit, but I felt that England looked a bit better when Ben Youngs come on. But I just feel with Van Poortvliet, it's probably not an ability thing. It's just an experience thing at this level for him. I felt as well that England, when they brought Slade on in the midfield, actually looked better going forward as well, because rather than just trying to run over New Zealand, they were trying a little bit more deception and some steps and actually attacking space rather than just trying to break the line. And then we come to the final 10 minutes. So England finally start to get some momentum, and they're on New Zealand's line, basically driving at the line. And finally it is Stewart goes over for the first try. It's one of these where, it's only a few meters, but it's the hard meters that they've been trying to get from a number of carries, and he's able to produce that, get over the line and get his try. After that, there was a bit of review, and Bowden Barrett gets a yellow card. So we've got about, as I said, 9 or 10 minutes to go. I think it was less than 10, right? Because he still hadn't come on by the time the game had ended. So he's off. New Zealand down to 14. And then England start to go up through the gears and put on real pressure. They're on attack again. They are sucking in defenders, and they spot that they have a bit of an overlap out wide. They spread the ball out wide, and Freddie Stewart is able to just coast in between a couple of defenders because he just had too many men to watch out there. Converted, and then suddenly England are, one try back from the draw, and they keep on pressing on from that. Stewart goes over for his second try, with a minute or two left or something, wasn't it, on the clock? And again, it's kind of close to the line, but he's able to get over and get the ball down. And he is the first prop to score 2 tries in a test match for England. So that's some feat from him. I felt that Smith at 10, in those last 10 minutes, he kind of came alive, whereas maybe for the 70 minutes before that, he looked a little bit subdued. He was making mistakes. He was kind of almost second guessing himself as well. I didn't feel like their kicking game was great either out of hand. Those last 10 minutes, wherever happened, it felt like the shackles came off, and he really was, proving a threat with ball in hand and being able to bring others into play as well. That's really good for England for the future if they can get him up to that level, kind of, for more of the game. But if they can produce even a 10-minute spell like that, sometimes that's enough to win you a test match. In this one, it was enough to get back even. New Zealand then kick off. We go into red. England are pretty much in their own 22, or just inside their own 22, sorry. They get the ball back to Smith. There's about 81 minutes on the clock. He kicks off the field. There was some people saying that, England should have, they still had a man advantage. Barrett was about to come back on the field at that stage, but they're saying, we've got the man advantage, let's go for the win, etc., etc. And it's one of those ones where I feel like Smith is whatever, unless England go the length of the field and score a try, I feel like he's probably going to get criticised for the decision, because kicks it off the field, then people are saying, we could have won the game. Doesn't kick it off the field, they try, to run it and somebody knocks it on, or New Zealand get in and isolate someone, which they were doing previously in the game, and win a penalty, and then they kick to win the game. And then what are people going to say about Smith then? That he should have kicked it off the field. And people might say, oh, it's at that stage then it's a sign of inexperience and etc. etc. So I don't feel that the decision to kick it off the field and take the draw was necessarily a bad one. Obviously, as a fan, you want to see, and in this case, genuinely a neutral between these two teams, wanted to just see more rugby because it was a great game. You know, we had New Zealand steaming ahead and then England coming back at them in those last 10 minutes just to see who could get that final score and get the win. But from me, at least, for his decision, certainly no criticism to him for that. In terms of where the teams are then, New Zealand, I feel they're definitely improving. They've improved as the year has gone on. I feel like since they brought Schmidt in as one of the assistant coaches, that there is more intent in their attack when they have the ball, rather than like a lot of their attack previously was about just that innate ability that those players have to transition from attack to defense very quickly and punish mistakes. I think they're still the best team in the world at that, but he's brought this extra thing to them, I feel, where you can see that they're analyzing their opponents more and they're picking out things like those cross kicks, you know, targeting certain players and certain pictures on the field that they want to create to be able to break off as well. You can see that, and it's definitely benefiting them. And the more that they bring that into the game, and then, you know, they're doing a great job, I feel, of coupling it with their natural abilities as well. So there isn't any kind of stop on them scoring turnover tries or just being able to create tries out of nothing as well. That's still there, but they're adding an extra string to their bow, and I feel like they're progressing very well. That was New Zealand's last game of the Autumn Nations series. I think they'll be pretty happy with how they finished there, and you know, they'll look to build next year. For England then, definitely going to be pleased with how that last 10 minutes went. The first 70 minutes, not so much. And England have had a lot of cold starts, I feel, in games. When, like, there was a period in the run up to the last World Cup where England were one of the best teams at the start, where they would go and try and score a try in the first 5 minutes or so. And that seems to have left them at the moment. You can see that they do have plenty of players to call on, but now for Eddie Jones, I feel like it's the next Six Nations is going to be important because they need to sort through all of those players and decide who's really up to it, you know, in a potential World Cup quarterfinal, semi-final, final, who's going to be able to deliver for them, and who is a player who looks good at Premiership level, but maybe doesn't have it at Test level. Next up for them, then they've got South Africa, so another really tough test for them. I feel like in terms of the opposition that they picked for the 4 games that they have here, they did pretty well. Japan maybe was a little easier for them. Obviously, Argentina not so much. But finishing off with South Africa is definitely going to be an interesting one. And it's going to be interesting as well because you've got on one side Eddie Jones, who loves to get into it with the media and stuff. Now, like whatever he says, you can see that he certainly enjoys that. And then on the other side, you got Razzie, who has gotten his ban for his social media work after games as well. So just that around that game is going to be interesting. But it's going to be interesting how these two teams go at each other, because you've got, you know, two teams who obviously have the guts of a really good team there, but they're not quite hitting that height of performance, certainly not on a consistent basis. We're talking about like a repeat of the previous World Cup final as well. So that's certainly going to be a game to watch and enjoy next week.